How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Well, we got very lucky, or we have a money pit here in this 2001 F-350 Super Duty Power Stroke, the 7.3. Well, I picked up this truck off Marketplace for $6,500, which to me felt like a very good price, and I'll show you why in kind of a walk around with this video. Because I need a tow truck, I want to go down to Moab and I want to be able to tow the come and swap Land Cruiser because I'm probably going to break an axle eventually. And this is what I deemed as the best tow vehicle. Why not buy a Cummins? I'm very familiar with Cummins. My Land Cruiser has a Cummins in it. Most of the guys are asking ridiculous prices for Cummins, and I get it because they're Cummins, but Dodges tend to be falling apart around the engine. The engines are solid, but I went with one of these Power Strokes because there's been several in my family. They've all worked great, and these have been proven to last up to 500,000 miles. This one's a little bit different because this has a 6-speed manual, the ZF6, and that's what I wanted. I like manual trucks. I like having the ability to select gears, and from what I've read, they're a little bit more stout and better for towing. So let's just take a little walk around the truck and see what we got. So it has this, I believe it's like a ranch hand front bumper, and it's pretty rusted out. It'll need to be sandblasted and recoated. But we've got our block heater here as well. I think that plugs into your battery to charge your batteries. I'll have to check that. Pop the hood at the very end, but just keep walking around here. These tires, the previous owner told me he got for $300, and they're, as the date code says, 10 years old, but there's still about a good amount of tread left. As you'll be able to see, there's a good amount of surface rust on the whole frame and some parts of the body, but eventually the goal is to have a 2-post lift where I can sandblast the frame and recoat all this. Looks like we've got some Mickey Mousing here with some duct tape, so I'll have to look into that. This is a Canadian truck, as I believe, because I see that it's been imported. So if you look here, we'll see that it says imported by Ford Motor Company. So I believe this was a Canadian truck. The interior here, we have a little knob here, and this is the fun switch. So there's a few different settings on here. I found that the sweet spot is kind of 2 clicks in, and that first click in is just full fuel, which I'll show you in a sec. We don't want to be rolling coal, but that second one gives you a good amount of power and throttle response. So these are electronically injected. They use a Huey system, which is a very complicated dual-step injection system with the injectors. And like I was saying, this is one of the rarities among the 7.3s is the ZF6 6-speed that it comes with. So definitely prefer manuals. Gearing is a little different. It took me a while to get used to. Your reverse is up here. Your low is your real granny gear. I usually start out from a stop in first, and then so on. Your 5th gear or your cruising gear is your overdrive, and that's a very long gear. So that's your highway gear, obviously. This came with, I believe, a factory PTO controller, which is really cool. You can run a winch or any type of, I guess, pneumatic or hydraulic equipment from your transmission, which is pretty darn cool. Everything else is pretty stock as far as the options are concerned. The interior is a little torn up, which is to be expected when you have a 23-year-old truck. So the rear door doesn't close perfectly, and that has to do with probably some of the weather stripping and this spot weld right here being torn out. So I'll have to address that, but it closes pretty darn well. It shakes a little bit on the highway, but again, for a 23-year-old truck for $6,500, we can expect those type of things. Dash isn't cracked, but the windshield is. Not really worried about that. Again, we got this for a good price, and this is actually going to be my daily driver. So we sold the Corolla Hybrid, and now we're driving this as our daily driver. So yeah, fun times. It came with a really rusted out, dirty, messed up bed. So I ended up getting a different bed and putting this one on there. This one was $900, so that brought the price up to $7,400. The previous bed had a 5th wheel hitch, but not like a gooseneck. This one is cut out for it, but previous owner of this bed ended up including this piece here, and I just used some self-tapping screws in order to secure that because I'm not going to be doing any 5th wheel towing with this. So unfortunately, I jumped the gun when I saw a bed in this condition compared to the old one, and I thought it was the same paint code, but you can tell, especially in the sunlight, they're 2 different paint codes. And this model was taken off a non-FX4 or a 4x4 off-road, so it doesn't have this stainless little cladding right here on the rear. It's like $400 for that, so I'm not really interested in that. Going back to the frame here, yeah, it's definitely got a little bit of surface rust. I had the whole bed off and I almost wanted to just sandblast or wire wheel this, but honestly, time is, time is tough. So I ended up just leaving that. Again, when I get a shop and a house, I'll be able to just take the whole thing off and then hopefully sandblast that. So tailgate works, which is another reason I bought this bed. The previous bed did not have a tailgate, so definitely want that, obviously, if you're gonna be putting stuff in the back. Just got our plates and installed a little 7-pin connector holder right here, so we'll be good to tow quite a bit. This is one of the cool things that came with. This is a 5-inch MBRP exhaust, and it sounds great and allows for a lot more flow than the stock one, which I believe is a 3-inch. More rust. Again, being a Canadian truck, they salt the roads up there. But from my YouTube mechanic knowledge, this frame is intact, so I'm not too worried about it. So this being an F-350, it has these extra blocks right here for towing larger amounts than the F-250s. On the passenger side here, I forget, I'll put which version this is. This is either an extra or not a king cab, so it has the doors that open this way as opposed to a 4-door. So I do have seats back here, but space is relatively limited. I'll just use that for keeping stuff back there. Yeah, and everything in here is actually in pretty darn good condition, considering, of course, the age of the vehicle and that this was used as a farm truck for most of his life. This thing smelled like complete cow manure when I picked it up, and it still kind of does. I gave it a quick wash, but yeah, it's still going to need to be thoroughly cleaned out. So obviously with this bumper, it's not well connected in the front fascia here, so we don't have the option for a winch right here. We could maybe fabricate something, but then I would question the strength of it. But like I said, not too worried about that. Let's take a look at the engine. All right, so the main reason I purchased this is because, yes, I still think Cummins 6BT is the best engine of all time, but this is a close second. So this is the 7.3 Power Stroke made by Navistar, 7.3 liters, and this one's in really good shape. I'm not sure what the compression is. It's a little dirty underneath. We'll have to clean that eventually, but again, this is a work truck. The reason I bought this is because I recently left my job at the resort. I'm no longer working in the restaurant industry, and I'm working for a place called Yosi Overland. It's an overland business that just opened up. I'm extremely excited about it because we're gonna have a ton of overland accessories, including off-road specific trailers and all sorts of accessories and gear. So stay tuned for that. Just needed some small things like new terminals on the battery. There was a little bit of corrosion, new batteries, or newer at least. Check the air filter, which is good. And yeah, this thing runs pretty darn good. And especially with the manual compared to my dad's automatic, I just like being able to switch through the gears. So let's go ahead and start it up. All right, so we'll hop in here. Now these have glow plugs as opposed to the Cummins not having glow plugs. So put the key in and let the glow plug cycle. And we saw the wait to start go away. So make sure we're not in gear and push the clutch in and start it up. And I haven't had this not start up yet, so fingers crossed. Let's hope that stays that way. It gives a little bit of white smoke in the morning when it was cold, but we're in the summer months now, so probably won't happen much. We're probably gonna keep this plugged in for a couple hours before we start it in the morning in the winter. Yeah, so we've got 321,000 miles on it, but for me, with the research I've done and seeing my dad's truck go for 306,000 miles and hearing that these can go up to 500,000 miles pretty consistently, as these are getting pretty old, gave me confidence in buying this truck, kind of just without a mechanic's, inspection or anything. And hopefully this doesn't turn into a huge money pit. We can pretty much, I changed the oil, and that was pretty much it. Obviously the bed set me back a bit, but this thing's ready to tow. They also make a off-road bumper specifically from ARB that has a winch mount. What do you guys think? Do Do you think I should turn this into like an overland build and get like some sort of a camper in the back, like a GFC, like rooftop tent camper? Should this just be the towing vehicle on the channel? The main reason I bought it is to be able to tow the Land Cruiser out of places in case I break an axle or any other components, as I'm going to turn up the Cummins injection pump and try and get some more power out of it. But that's enough showing you the truck. Let's go ahead and start it up, take it for a ride, and I'll show you about the tuner. Yeah, so in the cab, pretty quiet, you know, all things considered for a diesel, pretty quiet. Something that I realized, having driven a couple different Dodges and then my dad's Ford, is that these tend to just drive a little bit nicer. The experience in the cab is just a little bit more comfortable, and I like the way they drive. Another cool thing is that these have the Dana 60, the same one that we're gonna be swapping into the Land Cruiser. Well, it's a little bit different because it's an older year, but these trucks are very well built. This is one of the better engines that Ford made, the 7.3. Then they had the 6.0 and the 6.4, which there's nothing wrong with them if you do all of your due diligence and maintenance. People are gonna argue that the 6.0 is terrible. If you bulletproof it, you know, it's good, but I like these just right out of the gate as far as reliability, even fuel economy. I'm seeing like 18 miles a gallon. I don't know if the automatic gets better mileage than that or not, but that's pretty darn good for a truck that weighs almost 8,000 pounds, I think. So right now we're on the stock tune. Once we get to a straightaway, we'll open it up a little bit. I drove 5.5 hours out to Montana because that was the only ZF6 6-speed in this greater area that was for sale for a decent price. There was another one that was for 5,000, but it was, you know, there's a lot of issues with it. It was kind of rusted out, needed a bunch of work, which these all are gonna need work, let's be honest. It's a 23-year-old truck, but this has exactly what I wanted right out of the gate, and I can pretty much just enjoy this thing for another 180,000 miles or however long it lasts. You know, this isn't going to be something that I race, except for in a couple seconds here. This is going to be a purpose-built towing vehicle, and it's my daily driver currently. I got rid of that Corolla Hybrid. That was my daily driver for 4 years, and it basically built this channel with the money I made from Uber and Lyft, but I no longer need a hybrid. So, all right, we're getting close to a straightaway here. We're gonna click it up, 2 clicks on the tuner, and just the throttle response right off the bat. We're at 60 miles an hour right now. Pretty darn quick. This has around 275 horsepower from the factory. Of course, we're probably not seeing that now that it's so old and we're losing compression and all that, but it seems to be running pretty darn good. Now, if I turn it only 1 click, basically it's just rolling coal, and we don't obviously want to do that, but this thing just black smoke out the back, and that's not what we want. And it's not really tuned very good on this second tune, so I don't even use this second one here unless I'm like going up a hill or I want to have fun and go fast. I'll usually just keep it back on this first knob here for the ideal like MPG tune. It doesn't have any lift. It's on stock ride height, so it handles pretty darn well for a truck of this age. I mean, it drives pretty straight down the road. I don't even have to keep both hands on the wheel when I'm going straight like this. I have no hands on the wheel right now. And there's very little slop or play in it, which is nice. Something that most of the Dodgers I've driven, I can't really, you know, if they've been taken care of well, then maybe it's decent, but I just like having this out of the gate, that it drives pretty darn well. And now that I'm starting to work on these Super Duty axles, I know how to replace ball joints and all that good stuff. Going forward, it just kind of seemed like a good option. I think it would be pretty cool to make this thing into an overlanding truck, just because everything that I've done with the Land Cruiser is trying to beef up. You know, Land Cruisers are cool, but it's trying to beef up a frame that's not necessarily meant to handle really heavy duty stuff. Obviously, the Land Cruiser is the king as far as articulating off-road and just being super rugged, but I keep thinking about building one of these for an overlanding rig. I mean, what encouraged my decision to buy this is several videos of guys saying there's few things you need to do to this to make it last 500,000 miles, as long as you don't mess with that tuner like I was just doing. And I just like that there's so much confidence in this platform. It's been tried and proven over the last 25 years. There's a lot of these on the road, And it would be kind of cool to make this into an overlander, but what I'm most likely thinking about is just getting a trailer and then getting some sort of a camper set up so that I can use this as my live-in rig. I don't have to carry a rooftop tent on top of my Land Cruiser, and the Land Cruiser can just be my fun vehicle. Or I could just keep it the way it is and not spend any more money on it. I've done an oil change, I might do a trans fluid flush. That's about it. I don't really see much else that I would do to this if I was to just keep this as my daily driver slash tow rig. Anyways, guys, just wanted to share the new vehicle with you. I think it's pretty cool. It's not fast, it's not flashy, it's kind of ugly, but it has it where it counts in the engine and the ability to tow this bad boy over here. So right now we have plans to go down to Moab in October. So hopefully we'll be taking this thing down to Moab relatively soon with this guy and having some fun down there. What do you guys think? Did I make a big mistake by buying this thing? Is it gonna blow up on me, or was this a good buy at $6,500? Anyways, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.